anxious today. I'm sure everybody has felt this way at one point in their lives. Anxiety is a normal human experience. But what if it starts to make you unwell? You cannot cope with work and it's interfering with your life. This now stops being normal anxiety and it requires to be addressed.
I had a massive anxiety attack and ended up self-harming. That's the first time I self-harmed. I'm a mental health advocate, I'm an artist, I'm a musician, but I'm passionate about mental health advocacy.
This Matatu is our safe space, and it's the place where we're going to have a very candid conversation. Anxiety is one of the most prevalent conditions. It's more prevalent than people think. You know, somebody is hearing anxiety, but they don't know what that feels like. What does that feel like for you?
Right now I'm shaking a bit and my breathing is a bit hard. There's a time it gets really bad, like you can't even breathe. You panic even more the more you feel like your body is failing on you and your heart is beating so fast, you're sweating. You're kind of disoriented and you feel like running but you can't even run. Like, it's so intense.
And I like that you've been so vulnerable to tell us that even now you're feeling it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to encourage you to just breathe. It's important to note that there are different types of anxiety disorders. The most common is generalized anxiety, whereby there is no specific trigger. But we also have phobias. There are people who are scared of dogs. There are people who are scared of things like trains or cars or driving. We're going to read a comment from the DW Africa Facebook community. This is from Frank Emelanjoku from Nigeria. He says, poverty and family issues is the cause of most of it. We saw a spike of anxiety disorders, especially in men, during the COVID pandemic when people were losing their jobs, and this was a big contributor to anxiety. But I would say that it's not the cause of most of it. There are very many other contributors. Sometimes there is trauma that can cause anxiety. Sometimes people go through a traumatic experience, and so they are multifactorial. And guess what? Genetic. A lot of anxiety is genetic. So there are many causes of anxiety. Something that many people with mental disorders have experienced is stigma. Is that something that you've experienced in your journey, or have you been lucky?
Actually, what happens, they concentrate so much with the illness and they forget the individual. So they end up having a negative perception towards the individual just because they don't understand the illness.
So aside from stigma, what other challenges have you experienced as somebody living with anxiety?
Okay, so one I could really point out is accessing mental health care. Yeah, it's available, but you find that it's quite inaccessible because it's expensive. When I asked about therapy, at that time I was told it was 4,000 per session. And at that time I was paying my rent in Buruburu, where I was studying, it was 6,000. I can imagine, like, should I use the 4,000 for, you see, now you have to put it aside for some time.
So one thing you've mentioned that's really important for anybody who's dealing with anxiety is coping mechanisms. What are some of your coping mechanisms?
Now, for example, I'll start with something really simple. This fidget ring I have helps me calm down. So it's something as simple as this. At times it's talking to a friend, getting enough sleep, making sure you've eaten, hanging out with friends, which I rarely do, but I do when I can. Seeing a therapist, listening to music, dancing, swimming. Hobbies, when it comes to my work, it's closely related. Actually, it was born from when I was aware of what I've been struggling with. So the Stronger Forum became a magazine. Then after the magazine, it became now what it is right now, which is a community-based organization. And we do a lot of advocacy. Yes, you will feel helpless, like you're not doing much, but it gives me a sense of purpose.
Really just want to thank you for being so vulnerable, for opening up, and for speaking up. Because trust me, somebody somewhere is watching it and relating it and feeling so empowered. If you are watching this and you feel like you are relating and you feel like you need extra help, please speak up. There is no shame in speaking up. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we would love to hear from you. So please interact with us in the comments.